So, if I had to boil it down to one thing that saved my grades, and I mean properly turned my grades around, it would be this steady plan. Not some motivation, not vibes, not some aesthetic planner from an online shop. A plan. One that actually worked for someone like me. The kind of person who could start a textbook for 30 minutes straight and still not remember a single thing. So today, I'm going to give you the real breakdown. No fluff, no hype, just what I did, step by step, to get me where I am today. So I took 11 GCSEs and I got A stars in all of them, and I'm pretty sure that puts me in the top 10% of students or something. I'm not too sure of the stats, but you get what I mean. Here's the thing though, during my GCSEs and sixth form days, I wasn't a perfect module student. In fact, I treated school like a part-time job. I'd prioritize playing video games, editing YouTube videos, and pretty much anything other than revision. I remember handing in assignments late, skipping topics I found boring, and literally not submitting homeworks at all. It got to a point where some of my teachers were genuinely predicting me use for my upcoming exams. So you might ask yourself, how exactly did I go from all that to A stars? And I know this sounds like a plot from some Disney movie where the underdog has a magical turnaround, the crowd starts clapping, and everything works out in the end. But I'm sorry to break it to you, real life is not that smooth or easy. There was no genie to hand me my grades, no natural talent, just a lot of trial and error. Truth is, I failed a lot, but through all that chaos, I built a system that truly worked, and one that helped me revise smarter, not harder, and one that gave me clarity instead of stress. And I promise you, if I can turn things around, you definitely can too. One thing that genuinely hurts me to look back on is how I used to revise with no direction. And I don't mean this in a poetic kind of deep way. I mean I literally sit there, opening a random textbook and flip through random pages, and then I call it revision. And the worst part is, I low-key knew that it wasn't working. Deep down, I'd have these thoughts like, is this even gonna come up? Am I wasting my time? Am I gonna fail for the 100th time? I'm exaggerating a bit, but you get the point. That's when I stumbled across something painfully obvious. The exam board specification, aka the spec. So online that there's a literal checklist that outlines everything you need to know for your specific subject. And I mean everything to the T. And the ironic thing is that it's called the specification because it literally specifies the exact things you need to study for your specific subject. Did you see what I did there? Specification, specify, specific. I'm too funny, man. You should definitely subscribe. I'm joking. Let's get back on track. So, what's actually inside a spec? It's like having a cheat code for exams, except it's not really cheat. In fact, it's completely legal. And this is exactly how I used it. So I made a checklist and then I printed the spec and went through every single topic. I made sure that I'd at least seen or learned one topic, even if it was at the surface level. But then came a small issue, or depending how you look at it, it's a blessing in disguise because not all subjects are equally as hard. Some are easy and some are, well, hard to say the least. So to keep things organized, I used what I call the traffic light system, where red meant hard, yellow meant intermediate, and green meant easy. So once I labeled everything, I basically focused on the red and yellow because that's where I needed more work done. So I'd basically work and work and work until I basically become perfect. And then the red and yellows basically become greens. And if you're not sure where to find your exam spec, just type this into Google. The name of your exam board, so whether AQA, EdXL, OCR, or any other exam board you do. Then put what qualification you're currently at, so whether GCSEs, A-level, BTech, or any other vocational courses. Then finally, what subject you're looking for, so whether maths, science, English, or anything else you're currently studying. So for instance, you put in AQA GCSE biology specification. And trust me, once I started using a spec like this, I wasn't just studying for the sake of studying, I was actually studying with purpose and intention. So I'll be real, I wasn't a greatest student like I've said so many times. Like I wasn't the type to take perfect notes or stick revision timetables on my wall or color code my folders. That just was not me. But one thing I can absolutely vouch for is my memory retention. Like if I wanted to put my mind onto something, I could absolutely remember it for years. Which depending on how you look at it, is either a blessing or a curse. Like for instance, there are things I'd like to forget. Like that one time in year 9 when I called my teacher mum in front of the whole class. But no matter how hard I try, it's stuck in there forever. On the flip side though, if I actually wanted to remember something educational, I could do that as well. Like take this for example, my science teacher in secondary school once made us learn the first 20 elements of the periodic table. And that was years ago, but I still remember them now. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, argon, potassium, calcium. I'm yapping a lot now, but like the point I'm trying to make is that even if you have a decent memory like mine, GCSEs and A levels are still a lot to remember. There's just a lot of things like to get through, and it's not necessarily hard content per se. It's just so much to go through. Do you know what I mean? 10 plus subjects, thousands of facts, definitions, equations. Yeah, it's a bit too much for me personally, so I'd rather not. So I went old school, but in a modern way. I made flashcards. I used an app called Quizlet to make flashcards on science, which were basically essential for memorizing key definitions, formulas, and vocab. Languages for learning key phrases, grammatical rules, basically anything I'd need to write or speak. History, also good when studying dates, events, names of historical figures that could pop up in exams and all that. It felt like a full-time job, boring, long, repetitive, but once they were done, they were pretty useful. And here's where it gets good. I didn't treat flashcards like they were some sacred study time. I used them in my everyday life. I'd learn them when I'm eating breakfast, when I'm in my bus, in school during break times, or even when I'm in bed and I can't fall asleep. This is what I call the off-deck revision. Basically stuff you can do without needing a desk or silence. So then when I actually sit down to revise, I wasn't going over the content again. I was just like focusing on how to answer the questions instead of like focusing on the content of the question. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Now, if there's one thing you absolutely have to do, and I'm talking even if you've done hundreds of hours of revision, made the most aesthetic note, and you've color coded everything like a scrapbook. If you don't do this one thing, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. Now, I know that a lot of teachers don't talk about them. They usually say that focus on the content first, but then they leave out the part that actually matters. Exams don't just test what you know, they test how well you can apply the knowledge that you know. Let's say for instance, you spent all your time revising. You've got gorgeous notes, highlighted to perfection. You've watched 15 videos on the heart. You've done 3 mind maps and a poster that looks like it belongs in the science museum. But then you get into the exams. The question isn't, what is the function of the heart? It's, explain how a blockage in the coronary artery can lead to a heart attack. 4 marks. Now you're staring at the page like, wait, what? Now that was me over and over and over again. One subject that really humbled me was A-level biology. Like that subject had me in complete chokehold. I was properly stressed. So basically, I was still run these mini mocks every couple of weeks, right? So naturally, I'd revise for ages. I'm talking days. I'll be reading textbooks, watching experiments, making notes. And when the exams came around, I'd write everything that I knew and I'd walk out thinking, yeah, I'm that guy. The exams was easy. Then I'll meet up with the rest of my class outside and we compare answers. And guess what? My answer was the same as theirs. So you can imagine the shock on my face when the results came in. Everyone's celebrating and I opened mine F like I properly failed. I was confused and violated. So I asked my teachers like, Miss, how? My answers were the same as theirs. And then she hit me with the classic, your answers were technically correct, but they weren't math scheme specific. That's when I realized that the system doesn't really care about how well you understand the subject or the topic. It cares about how well you can speak the examiner's language. It's mad, but that's the game. And obviously the game's a game and you can't really hate the player, so you just gotta hate the game and take you on the chin. From that day onwards, past paper questions became my bread and butter. I basically did them every time I revised. I basically became obsessed. I became so obsessed that I turned every study session into a routine. There's one thing you absolutely need to know. GCSEs and A-levels, they're not about being perfect. They're about being prepared. You don't need to memorize every single thing. You just need to recognize the way that the exam board likes to ask a certain question. And then you train yourself how to respond the way that they like it. So yeah, are past papers boring? Yeah. Are past papers repetitive? Absolutely. But are they effective? They were better than every study technique I used combined.